calling forth the Wholeness Navigator.
Is God a physical being?
Are you?
Of course.
Then doesn't it stand to reason that God is as well?
I don't know.
Can a dead man govern a city?
No.
Then how does First Source govern the grand universe that is, at its most coarse expression, a physical manifestation?
First Source inhabits a body like you and me?
Can any person upon Earth create something more magnificent than their human instrument?
I can't think of an instance.
So, within this world, the human instrument is the highest expression of materiality?
I think so.
And whatever a human creates, its creation is less magnificent than it is.
Unless it is a child.
And who is the child of First Source?
We are.
No. Humans are thousands of generations removed from First Source. Who was the original child or first creation of God?
I don't know. Source intelligence, or spirit?
Source intelligence isn't a creation of God. It is the mobility and presence of God.
Then I'm afraid I don't know.
When a cloud emerges from a blue sky, there are specific conditions that create the cloud. It appears from the sky, but does not resemble the sky in color, scale, texture, or scope. And yet, is it not accurate to say that the cloud was a child of the sky?
I suppose, but what does this have to do with the physical body of God?
Think of First Source as the sky, and the physical body of First Source is the cloud.
So, the first child of God was the physical body of God?
Yes.
First Source created the conditions whereby its physical counterpart could manifest to govern the physical universe. Then which came first, the physical universe or the physical expression of God?
Do you elect a president before you have a nation?
Okay, I see your point. Is it true that we were created in the image of God?
There are genetic archetypes that reside within the physical manifestation of God, and these archetypes are sevenfold.
So there are 7 manifestations of God? Are they all physical?
They can be summoned physically at will, but God appears to each of his 7 offspring in the form they will recognize as their father.
Are you referring to the 7 root races of Earth?
No. The 7 races of humankind are part of the most ancient genetic line of the universe, in which Earth is an infinitesimal component. I'm referring to the 7 genetic archetypes that reside within the 7 tribes of light, that are known as the central race. They are sometimes referred to as the Elohim, Shining Ones, or WingMakers.
And you're saying that these beings are separated into 7 genetic groups?
The grand universe consists of 7 universes, and each of these converges in the centralmost region of the grand universe. It is within this region that the 7 physical manifestations of First Source live, each an archetype of the human instrument designed for the universe of its destiny.
Are you saying there are 7 versions of God?
There is only one God, but there are 7 human instruments, each with different attributes and capabilities that the one God inhabits. Our universe is associated with the 7th archetype, and it is this expression of First Source that interacts with and governs our universe.
Are all 7 universes like our own?
The physical worlds are similar in all material respects, but the life forms that populate them possess different genetic capabilities, forms, and expressions, each based on the archetype of First Source.
A human instrument from Universe 1 would not be similar to a human instrument from any of the other 6 universes?
Correct.
But isn't this true even within our own universe? Not all humanoid life forms look the same?
This is not a matter of appearance. You are 98% identical to a chimpanzee, genetically speaking, and yet you undoubtedly consider yourself quite different in appearance.
What you're saying is that all humanoid life forms, regardless of where they are located within our universe, are genetically linked to the 7th archetype of First Source?
Correct, but you can extend this to include a broad spectrum of other life forms as well. In other words, it's not just a human instrument.
Then in the other 6 universes, each has its own archetype that is embodied by God, and the life forms of these universes conform to this archetype, at least from a genetic perspective, if not in appearance. Is this accurate?
Yes.
Then the obvious question is, why? Why does First Source divide itself into 7 genetic universes?
When you approach a vast mystery, a mystery as infinite as the grand universe, what do you, as the creator, desire above all other things?
Assurance that the universes will not be destroyed.
Assume that you have no doubt of this. So perfect is your plan.
Then I would probably want to inhabit what I created and explore it.
And how would you do this?
I would need to travel somehow.
Assume that you are the 7th archetype of First Source. You are alone in your universe, and the universe is populated only with celestial bodies. There are no sentient life forms and no method of travel.
But isn't that what source intelligence is for? Doesn't first source utilize source intelligence for its travel or omnipresence?
Let me remind you that we are discussing a physical expression of God. The seventh archetype of first source is not able to travel about the universe, independent of the laws of the universe. You may think of these seven archetypes as the human instruments of first source, and attribute similar characteristics and limitations to them, as we ourselves must bear.
So, the physical archetypes of first source do not share the omnipresence and omniscience of their father?
They do not.
Do they operate as a team, or are they independent?
They operate in cooperation and collaboration, but they exercise their sovereign wills as it pertains to the universe under their charge.
Were the archetypes of first source created right after the creation of the grand universe?
They were created in succession, the same way a family is created.
Why?
There is much to learn from the creation of one that can be passed on to the next.
I want to see if I understand this correctly. At some point in time there was a grand universe created by first source, consisting of 7 universes, each governed by a physical expression of first source. The universes were devoid of life other than celestial bodies like stars and planets. Is this correct so far?
Yes.
And then the creation of life occurred. How?
First archetype of first source created life forms, what we shall call the central race of first universe. These beings were very powerful and not unlike their creator in function and form. They, in turn, created the genetic structures that became the first, pure physical soul carriers that housed the individuated spirit energies of first source.
And this repeated itself 6 more times?
Each universe was populated with genetic structures that were based on the archetype of first source for that particular universe. Each genetic structure had unique capabilities that were suited for the exploration and colonization of their particular universe.
So, there are 7 different genetic structures of soul carriers, exploring the grand universe. For what reason? Why does first source design the universe this way?
The grand universe is a vast network of life-bearing planets that enable the individuated spirit consciousness housed within a soul carrier or human instrument to interact with the limitations that physical worlds, by their very structure, impose. By interacting with these limitations, the genetic structures evolve, and in this evolution, they become unified.
Are you saying that evolution's final form is unity?
Not in all species, but in the most advanced formats of physical existence, unity is the outcome of evolution.
Why?
When you create something that is in your image, what do you think is the most difficult thing to do?
Let it go?
Correct. You want your creation to explore and colonize the universe, but you also want your creation to return. Thus, you instill a fundamental instinct within your creation to desire to return to their place of origin. This is a unification instinct, and it is one of the most powerful instincts designed into the soul carriers, of which the human instrument is one.
Then human-like soul carriers exist throughout the grand universe, and all of them are designed to explore the expanding universe, but also to return to the central-most region after they're done. This doesn't make a lot of sense.
It is not the soul carriers that return. These are physical-based vehicles that, like all physical matter, decay and transform. Only the Wholeness Navigator within the soul carrier neither decays nor transforms. It remains everlasting, and within the specific element of humanity it is designed to return to its origins.
Where does one draw the line between first source and other life forms?
How do you mean this?
Are the archetypes of first source separate from first source? In other words, do they have their own identity, or do they think of themselves as first source? In the same way, what about the central race?
There are 5 rings of life that comprise first source. At the center is the consciousness of first source. At the whole is source intelligence. In between are 3 rings of life, the 7 archetypes of first source, the central race, and the individuated spirit essence, or Wholeness Navigator.
And each of these rings of life draws their identity from first source?
Yes.
What you're really saying is that all of these life forms are threaded together as one consciousness?
No more than a family is one consciousness.
They are separate?
They are both separate and unified.
How?
The 5 rings of life are distinct forms of consciousness. In the formless state, each ring of life is aware of its unity, purpose, and inherent kinship with the others. In the physical realms, where consciousness is expressed through a dimensionally focused soul carrier, they have a diminished awareness of this connection. Thus, they are both separate and unified, depending upon which strata of consciousness the entity is focused.
Then you're saying that even the archetypes of First Source, since they have a physical body, operate in the three-dimensional world without a strong sense of connection to First Source? It hardly seems possible.
No one within the Central Race pretends to know the degree in which the archetypes of First Source have a diminished capacity to recall their source vibration. However, those within the Central Race are well aware of how the soul carriers of three-dimensional substance create the condition of separation, in which divine recall is reduced to such a degree that the entity regards itself as separate from First Source, and therefore its capabilities.
Separate